Is Judy Garland's performance in The Wizard of Oz one of the best child actor performances ever? Well, I'll say this much: it definitely brought the house down. Welcome to the new episode of Movies and Me. This show's been a blast so far. I just got to say that. I've got some incredible guests lined up, and I had some incredible ones in the past, but this time, one of my good buddies, you know him from Fan Friction and for being the Screen Junkies' #1 fan. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Raul Rodriguez.
Thank you, Nolan, so much for inviting me.
Oh, well, it's great to have you here, buddy. I was so glad that you chose this movie for your episode because I have fond childhood memories of The Wizard of Oz. I think I must have watched it so many times when I was a kid, and I watched it again on Netflix to prepare for this. So, Raul, I gotta know, since you picked this as the movie that's personal to you, what is it about The Wizard of Oz that makes it so great to you as a film fan and as a person in general? Tell us a story.
Yeah, when I discovered this movie, I was like 10, 11 years old. I discovered it in a very dark time in my past because without telling the whole story, for me as a child was very hard to notice that not my core family of my father and my mother and my sister, but the surroundings of my family, like my uncle, my aunt, and my both grandmothers. Especially only one because the other one I never met her throughout my life.
Mm-hmm.
But and that same year when I was 10 and 11, from my mother's side, I noticed that all of that love that I have throughout my childhood was a lie because everything was surrounding in like a little analogy, not to say in the whole thing. It was about money. Everything was demonstrating fake love, and you can notice those precious moments that you notice that is a lie. And the thing that I always relate to Dorothy is because Dorothy wants to go away, wants to wants to get out. She wants to explore the world. She doesn't want to be a simple farm girl. And the thing that I related to her because when she sings somewhere over the rainbow, the first time I saw it, I always say like, how do I wish to sing that and to get away from all of that? Because at the same time, is when I started to know about bullying. They bullied me a lot in middle school, and also at the same time seeing that the little brothers of the guys that bullied me also bullied my sister in primary school. And also when I saw the movie, I always wish if I could go to another place where everything was fine, because at the same time it was the troubles of my family, and also those problems were separating my parents at that time. And so that's why I always find I feel connected with the Wizard of Oz because every time I'm always in a dark place or every time I always feel beat down or like in depression, because now I notice because I was crying rewatching the movie this morning, like, oh my God, I had depression and I didn't even know it when I was little. So and also in that same time, after I saw the movie, like I hear later, and I don't care if I say it, but I tried to kill myself when I was 13.
All right.
And I didn't get to like harm myself, but I was already have everything prepared. Like I had a knife with me. I was watching through the stars and everything, and I was about to cut off my wrist, but I didn't do it because I had a lot of things to think about. And how do I wish now in the present I like I see like the show like 13 Reasons Why, like how a person have a lot of resources to not to do it. She and now throughout the years, like everybody has those suicidal headlines and reading books and everything. And at that time, 15 years ago, I didn't have any of those things. And so after that moment, that's when I saw Wizard of Oz like two, three, four times because every time I get like also in the analogy about courage because after that time when I was trying to kill myself, that's when I stand against my bullies and I defend myself, and that's why also I get courage. But at the same time, I'll notice also that I don't have because my heart was already broken about fake all the fake love that I had. But now that I need to re refurnish that love because I have my love for my sister and my parents, and that's the thing that I always get shown about the Wizard of Oz because the whole movie is like she wants to get away, but at the end she noticed that she needs to get back because she learned to change herself. But at the same time, she noticed the things that she lost. So that's one of the things that I always feel so personal about the movie. There's a lot of things, favorite scenes that I have. You can start asking another question if you want.
I just gotta say, that is probably the most moving story I've ever heard about The Wizard of Oz, and I'm really glad that you told me that, dude, because I completely agree. This movie was like an escape from reality for a lot of people, and that's one of the beautiful things about movies is that yes, you can have bad things happen in your life, but you can escape through exposure and relation to things like art. And with The Wizard of Oz, you definitely have that. I can tell that you clearly related to Dorothy, as a lot of people did. Judy Garland in that movie gives one of the best child performances I've ever seen. And I was surprised she was only 16 at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to go on to, since you mentioned you had favorite scenes, what is a favorite scene that comes to mind with The Wizard of Oz for you?
Um, Always in the Wizard of Oz, like when I was rewatching, I forgot, and I forgot to write it because I was starting crying to the first minute. Is there's you remember this says this movie is dedicated from the was a young at heart,
Yeah, in the opening credits.
the opening credits, and so when I saw this now because I haven't seen the movie in like 2 years, and I was like, oh, that's so true because I even though I'm older now, but I still have a heart of a kid. I always I always feel young, but at the same time have a like a wise thing, like to talk like a older person, even more older than my age. And also, every time that someone says Wizard of Oz, I always remember two things. One is Judy Garland singing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow,"
Which is a great song.
and it's a very beautiful song. I still remember the first time I watched it. It was in an old VHS, and I still remember seeing that movie in like a 15-inch TV that it had a VHS. VHS also it was my first TV that I got in my room. So then when I was that movie, I still remember. And that's the thing also about the movie because for me the movie I just got it right now. A lot of people say that we sort of a timeless classic. It is because I can still see the movie right now. For me, since the first time I watched it, like almost like 20 years ago, I said this movie doesn't look like it was made in the 30s.
I completely
This
agree
movie
with you.
look
It's got such a timeless feel to it.
it got a timeless feel. The sets are beautiful, are gorgeous. That scene when she opens that door and transforms everything into color. Um, Also, one of my other favorite scenes is when at the very end, like when Glinda shows up and says, "You have the power to live all of the time," and she says, "You only need to clap your ruby sleeve, no place like home." And when she goes back to Kansas, I always remember in my past, like I always remember, like I need to already change a lot of stuff for me, but at the same time, you know the things that you have, and you don't need to lose them. And the other thing that I like those places at home, my mother, she always made a joke for a lot of years. Like she said, "Oh, if you got the ruby slippers, I know where your home is gonna be." And she told me, and I told her what is gonna be my home, and she told me, You would love to be in a movie theater with lazy boys and have a lot of food and see unlimited movies. And I said, that's true. That will be my wish with my ruby slippers.
Yeah, I didn't. I like that you mentioned the change of color because I noticed like a thematic thing with that. I'm not sure what you'll think of this, but in the beginning of the movie, you can tell Dorothy isn't very happy of where she is, and I think the color palette, like the gray, bleak colors, represent that. And then when she goes to Oz, it becomes all bright and colorful and cheery, and you can tell she sort of changes. She becomes more happy. But at the end, where she does go back home and it goes back to the gray color palette, I never noticed that it's still gray, but it's ultimately brighter because of the lighting and everything. And I thought, not only is this movie a great character journey, but the cinematography is showing it as well. She starts out bleak and kind of miserable, goes through all this cheery stuff, and then when she realizes there's no place back home, it's still the dark gray settings, but it's brightened up a bit for her, and that I thought that represented her journey as a character.
Yeah, that's totally true because a lot of people. I still remember thinking for a lot of years, like, what is my favorite movie? And I remember when I was little, I always said Star Wars because Star Wars is a movie that it was the first movie that I was seeing in the theater and it blew me away. But years later, when I saw Wizard of Oz, that's a movie, I have only seen it in TV and that movie transports me directly. It has my full attention. It has me hooked. I'm immersed in that world. There's a lot of movies right now in the present that you can see the movie, you can be distracted on your phone, that you know it's a background movie, but The Wizard of Oz is a thing that you're analyzing, you're immersed by it, by its art because it's so beautiful. It's one of for me, The Wizard of Oz is perfect because it has, like you said, the character journey. It has Judy Garland. It has all of the cast as the lion, the wizard, Glinda, the Wicked Witch of the West.
Who's my
There's a lot
favorite
of
movie villain of all time.
yes. One of my favorite villains. Also, it's one of my favorite ones. Also, I still remember watching the movie when the twister scene. I don't know what you think about that scene. I really love that scene. Also,
It does look a little dated now, but like you said, it is a really good scene. Like when Dorothy's looking out of her window and she sees all those things flying past, like it's so fun and silly, but then you see like the Miss Gulch thing turning into the Wicked Witch, and there's a fun thing I saw about that actually. That witch in the cyclone scene is wearing the ruby slippers. So Margaret Hamilton technically plays Miss Gulch, the Wicked Witch of the West, and the Wicked Witch of the East, but she never got credited for playing the Wicked
I
Witch of the East.
I knew it. I was thinking about that when I was looking at that because I remember I didn't watch the Ruby Sleepers, but I was saying to my sister, what if because she's seen Miss Gulch transform into the Wicked Witch, and then she's falling to the house is falling to us. So maybe technically she killed the Wicked Witch of the East. So I was thinking that the Wicked Witch of the East and the West they were twins.
Really?
I was thinking about that because we never saw her. And also remember also the Ruby Slippers, they fitted both of them the same thing. I don't maybe they're magical, maybe can adapt to every feet. But if they were both twins, they fitted the same size.
I never thought about it that way, actually. I knew they were sisters. I never really thought they were twins. But, if we're talking great movie props, the ruby slippers, they're up there with the self-tying shoes from Back to the Future.
Yes. Then like I have said to you like many times I have a red pair of Jordans. Since
Yes.
the first time I bought them, I was like, these are my ruby slippers. Without even knowing it, those Jordans. I went to Comic Con in San Diego 2 times. I went to New York. I went to Philadelphia. I went to New Orleans. All of my travels, seeing the Screen Junkies and meeting a lot of people from Tough and the Screen Junkies fans. It was the magical thing about those red Jordans. They're like my ruby slippers, but I still have to pay for a plane or a bus.
You're like the millennial version of Dorothy.
Yes, the millennial version of Dorothy.
Yeah, and another thing I want to bring up, we already talked about Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which for me is the greatest song from a movie ever. Like, none of them has ever topped it for me, but the other music in this movie is equally as fun and good. Like, besides Over the Rainbow, is there any other song from The Wizard of Oz that you really like? Because I've got a couple.
Um, we're up to see the wizard.
Of
I want
course
to
you
go
do.
Wizard of Oz.
I was hoping you were going to sing on this, but I also really like
Oh,
the Scarecrow's song, If I Only Had a
oh
Brain.
yeah. If I only had a brain. And I didn't even sing somewhere over the rainbow. Like, somewhere over the rainbow.
Give us a like if
There's
you like Raul's singing.
there's something I've heard of once in a lullaby.
I'm just going to say for any
And
listeners right now,
and
Raul loves his singing. He serenaded me a happy birthday in Spanish, and now he's singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. What else could you ask for? This guy's a freaking legend.
and also I can sing the Grease soundtrack.
We know you can sing the Grease soundtrack. Everyone at Tough knows that.
Yeah, and also I like that even though this is a little nitpick, but when when Glinda shows up and when the Wicked Witch of the West shows up, and then you see that scene when the Wicked Witch of the East those legs they roll up and the ruby slippers disappear,
Mm-hmm.
and then Dorothy she's already have them on, and then Dorothy's like, oh my god, like she. That's the other thing that I just saw from behind the scenes of the Wizard of Oz. Like a lot of things that Judy Garland did, it was through her emotions, through her eyes, through her expressions. She
Yeah.
didn't need a lot of words to demonstrate that. Like you can see her wonderfulness when she opens the door, and that moment that I'm saying when Belinda says, "No, she already has the shoes on," and you can see her face that she looks to Glinda like says, "Oh, you already involved me like in a war between you guys, like between you witches." Like Dorothy, she just got there for like 5 minutes. She already has an arch enemy.
Oh, yeah. And just great segue there. Let's talk about the Wicked Witch of the West because this is my all-time favorite film villain performance, like of all time. Like this was the Heath Ledger Joker before the Heath Ledger Joker. Margaret Hamilton was a huge fan of these Oz books, and when she got the call to hear that she was going to be in the Wizard of Oz, she was like, "Oh, which part am I going to get?" And then her agent replied with the witch, obviously, and she was just like, "Oh, okay, I'll still do it." But she gives her all with this. She is so gleefully evil and fun. And I mean, I'm sure you guys all know the line. So, Raul, I'm going to let you take that away.
Oh. I get you, my pretty, and you little dog too. And then you can hear the flame.
Oh, God. She has a lot of great lines, too. Like, oh, hey, Scarecrow, wanna play ball? I don't know. This just turned
No,
into a voice acting thing.
I will get you out of here, pretty. Oh my god.
So, if the Wizard of Oz is ever
And you can
performing in a
notice that
theater near you, you should probably audition for the Wicked Witch.
you can notice that she enjoyed that role.
Oh, she
You can
definitely
notice
did.
that
She was
she
having the
enjoyed
time
it.
of her
So
life.
yes, and for me also, I going throughout the whole movie, I still remember that you just said about the scarecrow, like how we introduced by him. I really like as when he starts singing. They only had a brain, and then they go walking, and that's the thing that I really like. You already know these people, but you gotten me introduced right now for a different night because it's the same ones that they were in the farm, but they have different characters in the World of Oz. And then when you see the Tin Man, and then when you see the Cowardly Lion, for me that I always love how they all go together and like they're joining through her journey without even knowing her. They know her for like 5 minutes, and they will say, "I will go with you, and I will be with you at your side." And they risk their lives to weep with her to get to that. final step they needed to go to their journey to see the wizard. The wizard says, "No, I cannot grant you these wishes. You need to give me something in return." And they asked for that broomstick. And the other thing that I really love, let me go through my notes. I love that the person that portrays the Wizard of Oz is the same. Is the gatekeeper, is the caddy, is the soldier.
I only noticed that on my recent rewatch. I'm like, oh my god, this guy is the same person. Because if you've seen The Wizard of Oz, you know he's not a real wizard. He's almost like smoke and mirrors, but he exists to give Emerald City and Oz hope, in a way. And a funny thing with the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, the Scarecrow is the most intelligent one of the group, even though he's looking for a brain. The Tin Man is the heart of the movie. He's a great character. And the Cowardly Lion, oddly, is the bravest member because he chooses to not go into danger. And the wizard just, at the end, the wizard's true power to me is giving people hope and helping them realize who they are. And that's exactly how he goes about it. I think he knew he couldn't go up against the witch himself, so he had to get some people who were willing to go for it. But it tells you a lot about his character.
You can just see, like, going ahead, like, when Dorothy says, when they reveal the curtain reveal, like, she says, "You're a bad man." She says, "I'm not a bad man. I'm just a bad wizard." Because the Wizard of Oz, even though I know that a lot of people hate the James Franco version, but Sam Raimi did a lot of stuff. They go hand in hand with the Wizard of Oz because Sam Raimi loves the Wizard of Oz so much. And that's the thing that after seeing the Oz the Great and Powerful, you can notice the thing that he got in with James Franco, because James Franco was a liar, and you can see right now the Wizard of Oz was a liar because he was everyone sees him as a great god, the guy that protects them, and then it's only a man with a machine.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And he doesn't have any powers. The only power that he has is his wit. His wit and his intelligence. Because the thing that you just said, the wizard gave to the Scarecrow, he gave him a diploma to show him that he had a brain, that he had intelligence. He gave a medal to the lion because he showed courage. And they gave an analogy of a heart with the club with Tin Man because he had a heart. And I love this line that he says, "A heart is not judged on how much you love. It's how much you love others."
And how much others love you. I mean, that just encompasses a lot of the movie. It's really about helping someone realize who they really are. And Dorothy goes through that, the Scarecrow goes through that, the Tin Man goes through that, and the Lion goes through that. A lot of people look at The Wizard of Oz as just like a fun musical, but it's a lot more than that. It's a great character journey.
And that's the thing, like, there's a lot of stuff that I like from the movie. Like, I love, within Justice, I was little. This is a season reference, but there's an episode with Mr. Burns. He notices something and says, "Oh, I'm gonna destroy them." And then he frees a lot of monkeys with fake wings and says, like, when they would wish, "Fly! Fly!" And I would say, if I was a millionaire, right now with the future, you can get like a mechanical wings. If I get famous and they said, and I heard that some guy got the script that I wanted or something like that, I would say, "Kill that bitch! Fly, monkeys, fly!" I would do that.
Oh my god. I really want to see you dress up as the Wicked Witch now.
No, but I'm not dressed as the Wicked Witch. I'm my own version of the Wicked Witch. Imagine me with an Armani suit without the makeup, but I have the same attitude as her.
So you want to be like a dark, twisted Wizard of Oz?
Yes.
The Wicked Wizard of Oz.
The Wicked Wizard of Oz. That would be a cool twist. If they will try to do that.
Well, they are doing a horror version of it sometime in the future. Maybe that's going to be what they'll do. Oh, they
during
probably
this
are.
podcast.
So do you have anything else you want to bring up?
I wanted to bring up also the, the hourglass scene.
Okay, go on.
That scene, every time I watch it, you can feel the fear of Dorothy when the witch says, "This is all the time that you have." And, when you die, of course, it's not the same words, but it's like when you die, I'm gonna get my slippers, and you can see in her eyes the fear, and then you can see the following scene when Toto escapes, and then you can see when it gets to the scarecrow and the lion and the tin man, and then they go, and there was I love that scene like when they see the guard said, "Oh, you're
Which they parody in Wreck-It Ralph.
yes, Wreck-It Ralph, The Simpsons. Oh my God, that thing has been parried to death. That scene. Also, when the guys get to Dorothy, and then it says the hourglass is almost finishing, and you can see how the Tin Man with his axe is opening the door. You can see her crying that she knows that she's almost about to die. Even though that scene lasts for like 40 seconds, and I have seen that movie like 50 times, and I was like, I still feel the tension. That's the other thing that I love about The Wizard of Oz, like watching The Wizard of Oz, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Scream, Grease. Well, these movies, I can see them 50, 100 times, and it's gonna feel like the first time.
I absolutely agree with that. And funny thing about that scene that you just mentioned, I heard that there was originally meant to be another version of Over the Rainbow that she was meant to sing to give hope to herself, but they cut it out. And I'm glad that they did, because you really need to feel the fear in Dorothy for that scene in order to give it stakes. I think adding that song in there might have changed the tension a bit. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it could have worked still with that song?
No, I think that, like you just said, it's much better to build that tension because I remember seeing the behind the scenes that also they cut out that whole dancing number with the scarecrow.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't remember it was in a VHS and it was a different version on DVD or it was on TV, but I remember seeing that scene completely. I think it lasted like 3 or 4 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, that's true. It was okay they cut it out, but at the same time, you wonder like what happened to all of those scenes. Like they cut out also a song that they sing in the apple orchard with the apple trees.
I would have
They
loved
cut
to
out
see
a lot.
that.
Yeah, I just saw it like I going to the apple tree when I put out in my notes a lot of, like I put out in parentheses put out analogy because when the tree says when Dorothy takes out one of the apples says, would you like someone to pick something of you, like to take a part of you? I was like, that's very true. That's very analytical because the trees you can put out that they have feelings that they is part of them.
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy didn't ask permission to steal those apples, but at the same time, those trees they're like bastards, and they start to throwing all of those apples. And like Dorothy, she has like a okay, and then she grabs a lot of apples. And then now I have lunch, so
Yeah.
I win.
It's just that she doesn't like little green worms. Oh, man.
Yeah, and also like going to another iconic scene because I already have a lot of things about the movie. Going back to the Twister scene before that you just said about the transformation, and you can see that cow and the old lady doing knitting at the same time in the Twister.
The guys in the canoe.
I always do a joke like I remember I was in a casino in Louisiana and there was a Twister, and I was like, oh my God, if it attacks the casino, I was like, I would wish to be on the Twister in a Wizard of Oz slot machine. Is one of my favorites. I have won a lot of money that one, and to be playing, say, hey, hi, and the Twister like keep playing it.
I'm actually really surprised that the Cyclone from the Wizard of Oz hasn't been a fairground ride or like a theme park ride yet. If it has, please let me know, but that would make for an awesome ride.
Oh, that would be a cool right. And also, before that scene, when Dorothy arrives, you can see the Twister from afar. You can see the wind and everything destroying. You can feel that the peril. You can feel like you can feel Ariam's worry about Dorothy. You can feel the house destroying bit by bit. And for a movie of the 30s, that was a great achievement. And
It's
the other
really
thing,
great.
going on reference, I still remember when I learned like years ago that the same director, Victor Fleming, he directed also at the same time Gone with the Wind.
I didn't know that. Whoa.
On 1938, he made both Gone with the Wind and The Wizard of Oz. You can know about Gone with the Wind. It's a almost 4 hour long movie with a lot of sex, extras, and also those both movies were on Tyler Carter. Making those movies in that time was very expensive.
Is no one going to bring up the irony that his movie was called Gone with the Wind and there's a cyclone in The Wizard of Oz?
Yes, and also that's the thing that I really like about that, and also I learned also this years ago that this movie wasn't a big success in the 1939.
Yeah, I've heard conflicting things on that. Like, some people say that it was a success for a time, others say that it wasn't, but either way, it's a success now. It's the most watched movie of all time.
Yeah, because that movie got a lot of people watching it years later when television was invented and when it was broadcasted. I think in 1957. I think I just saw the behind the scenes, and also that's the thing about the Wizard of Oz. It's so beautiful. It's so timeless. And I was going to open with this line, but for me, the Wizard of Oz is my tale as old as time.
Whoa, that is a great way to look at it.
This is my analogy for the Wizard of Oz because you just said it's about a character journey. It's one of the bases of screenwriting and doing books. One of the best stories is about a character how it changes throughout the whole story and learn stuff. Like we just said about Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is not the same guy when the original movie and when Return to the Jedi ended. He's not the same person.
Yeah, it's a journey, just like Dorothy goes through.
Yes, and also that's the thing with the Wizard of Oz. Like I just mentioned, I was about to cry, but I hold it. But that's the thing I always feel related with this movie. Like this movie always gives me hope, always gives me cheer, always makes me cry. It's a movie that brings memories. Like I don't know when this is a discussion that I have like in the movie Inside Out. Sorry, a spoiler, but when Bing Bong is dying,
Mm-hmm.
in that scene I cried so much, a lot. I have seen the movie only like 4 or 5 times because I cried a lot with that scene because that scene gives me the same memory as the Wizard of Oz. Because when I was 10, 11 years old, that's when I noticed that my childhood was alive, but at the same time, that was the death of my childhood. And to me, to be a child, to know all of these harsh truths. When I saw Bing Bong dying, it's like an analogy when a child can no longer be a child. He has to grow up and leave things behind. And Bing Bong, for me, is like an analogy to see when your childhood dies.
I never thought of connecting The Wizard of Oz and Inside Out, but I think we're about ready to wrap this up. So, Raul, if you don't know already, I do a little feature on this show where I have to ask you this. Now, bear with me here. You have to imagine that I have never seen The Wizard of Oz. If you can even imagine that. What do you tell me immediately to get me to go watch it?
If you want a movie to pass a good time, but at the same time, you feel like everything is going wrong with the world, and you can notice right now in the news. The Wizard of Oz is always gonna bring you a smile. You're gonna feel related with any of the characters. The music is gonna bring you joy. gonna bring you smiles. But at the same time, like Josh just said, for me, The Wizard of Oz is a tale as old as time. It's a movie that's never gonna age. It's a movie that 200 years in the future, a lot of people still gonna watch it because that movie will be always somewhere over the rainbow, and it's always gonna bring you a smile.
Well, I think that's a really great note to end on. Raul, I want to thank you so much for coming on to this show. You gave me probably one of the most personal episodes of Movies and Me yet, and I think our longest episode yet, so you're already breaking records, buddy. Where can the good people on social media find you, and is there anything that you'd like to plug?
You can find me on Twitter of Raul Bader RTC. You can find me also on Instagram, the same handle. And you can find me also on Facebook on the Screen Junkies fan page. But so you can find me on Tough. See all the damn Tough fan fights. I have been on BFF and on Shea Panel. And hopefully, if I get brave enough, I will finally do a YouTube thing. So
I hope you do, buddy. You know I'll be there the second that you post that. And as always, guys, you can follow me at Nolan Dean 27 and use the hashtag #MoviesAndMe to help continue the conversation about The Wizard of Oz, because I think, especially, like you say, in times like these, people should watch this movie because it's so timeless and it brings such great joy to everybody. So please, that's a good little thing for the comments. If you have a really great memory of watching The Wizard of Oz, please leave us a comment down below. And next week, host of Deezus Takes the Reel will be joining us, Mr. Devaughn Taylor, and we will be discussing The Nightmare Before Christmas, so look out for that. And if you like this show, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.